Okay, everybody, I am back with the blade demo for Master Stats 1977 Graflex build, and then also the manual for the reassembly process. And we're going to go over the blade plug, because this is kind of a unique blade plug, the way I set it up, the way it works. So here we are again with the blade plug. I gotta have the gloves off to get this in and out. But the way this works is I made it a friction fit so that it would go into the chassis or into the blade holder outside of the hilt, and it's a tight fixed friction fit so that you can swing it around and it won't go flying out of here. So the easiest way I've found to get this in and out and get the most viewing out of this particular one is, you notice there's cracks and bubbles on both sides. Okay, the reference hole is right here, and this is where it was, right at the tip of my thumb. There's a reference hole right there, because the tritium, I think, was supposed to be a necklace or something. And so if you flip this around, you've got a hole that goes all the way through. The one that has the most bubbles, or the biggest bubble closest to the hole, that should be in the shine through window. I've just noticed that it goes in and out a lot easier on the friction fit if you put it in this way. So what I like to do is go ahead and insert it all the way until it stops. And then you can actually see, let's cover it up, you can actually see the tritium glowing in there. And so it actually makes a really cool effect when you fire it up. The blue light, or the white light, if you go into dual phase mode. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this on camera, but let's try and see what happens. And when you fire it up, you can actually see like the bubbles and like, you know, the tritium vial in there and stuff. Yeah, you can actually make it out, the glow of it. And I actually have the kitchen lights on right now. So, all right, let's give it a shot. Here we go. Let's see, it's washed out. Let's see if we get it up really close, if the camera will adjust. There you go. It's probably too close to totally focus, but you get all this bubble detail and the cracks and everything in there. It's trying. And then if you go dual phase, let's see if that clears it up. Now the lights switch over to white. I don't think it's gonna focus and it's just washed out, but you kind of get the picture. It's a pretty cool effect inside of there. Now, one of the things I need to note for you, Master Stats, is if you have this blade plug in with the chassis out or the chassis in the hilt, what happens is this aluminum warms up pretty quickly because of the Tri-Cree LED in there, and it expands a little bit. Then the acrylic inside of here in the blade plug also expands, which makes this really difficult to get out if you've had it on for a little while. Even just a few minutes, it's really difficult. So I just turned this on. It's still very cool, just for that short amount. And so you'll find that it'll come out a lot easier. So you just grab it here. Let's hope I'm right. It's a friction fit. My hands aren't totally dry. Let me try it with the other hand. Hold on just a second. Okay, there, so I got it out. I had to take the other glove off because I'm left-handed, and it comes out. So let me put the gloves back on. And so what's unique about this blade plug is that I like to put it in first, and then you can put it in the hilt. And then the only way to really get the blade plug out is to pull the chassis all the way back out again. Get the gloves on. And so let's go ahead and move on to the blade. So that pretty much covers the blade plug. So basically when you put it in outside of the hilt, like this, all the way in, and then you'll put this in the hilt, but then the only way to get the blade plug back out is to pull the chassis all the way out, and then, you know, again, this is such a tight friction fit, the only way you can get a hold of it and get it out is with the chassis out, so you just pop it out. So that covers the blade plug. Now, the way to get the saber in the hilt safely is, here is your top switch, which has to end up under the top red button. So you're gonna line those up perfectly, because if you don't, the slide tab switch has a little notch that sticks out, so you can see it in there. Yep, right there. Sticks down the upper left-hand corner, and it will catch the front of this if you don't get it perfectly aligned. And it'll just stop, and so you have to kind of back out, readjust it, and start over. But this is kind of a tight fit as well. When I first got the blade holder in, it wouldn't go in at all. So I had to do quite a bit of grinding on both the blade holder and the inside of the hilt to get this as snug as it is and to get it to go in and out. So as long as it's perfectly lined up, it should smoothly slide all the way in until, then you flip it over and you can see your two sync pins, and you just, once it gets to this point, you know that you have cleared the slide tab, and that's a good thing. And then you just push it in the rest of the way. There, super secure. So there, that's the front half. Now, because we're going to put a blade in this time and do a quick blade demo, we're going to pop out our thin blacked out piece on the glass eye, put it off to the side, and we're gonna grab the thicker one, and this is going to be your blade retention. What's kind of interesting about this is it has a completely solid black. I glued two pieces of acrylic together for this one, and so it has a solid black one on the one side right here, and then a smoked thick one on the other side to get the right height. So depending on which way you put it in here, a little bit of light will kind of escape around the edges and cause it to give off like a red glow. It's kind of weird. It's almost like a little bit of Anakin got left in the saber or something with some dark side energy in there. So let's do the blacked out mode, and then we'll go ahead and slide it in this way with the black towards the center. Trying to get my gloves caught in there, and then pop it in. There's your blacked out glass eye with in blade retention mode. So we'll leave that out for now because you don't want to screw this in until after the blade goes in. But to assemble it the rest of the way, you're going to make sure your Graflex logo is in the upward direction this way. And then you, of course, want your bubble strip towards you in this configuration, and then it's going to slide all the way on and line up the notch. I'm sure you already know how to do all this. And then slide it on and get it in the 90-degree position. So, yeah, just like that. And so then you line up, just like I said before, with the beer tab and these two holes, you're gonna line it up. And then, of course, the last part is slide the bottom on. And there we go. See, I like having the Fulmer logo on the top. I know there's different orientations for the screenshots on this and stuff, but this is kind of the orientation that I like because you've got your grip that lines up on the top here along with these guys. And then the bottom two grips, because they sit like that, it gives it like a nice base to sit on and it won't roll around. So, orientation like this, Fulmer logo at the top, rivet on the left, and then, yeah, we just slide it into place like that. And then once this one goes on, you're gonna just barely turn it clockwise until you start to see that part of it. Now that optimizes your sound right there, keeps this grip lined up here and here, and you should be good to go. Clamp lever down. All right, and now you're back in business. So let's go ahead and put the blade in. Again, Master Stats, you got one of my mega diffused blades. There's a ton of diffusion material in here to keep it, nice and even, super solid, so you don't see the color mixing going on in there with the blue white. And then, yeah, it's the frosted white bullet tip, mirrored bullet tip. I actually left it in there on this one, so it lights up nice and bright. And then this end has my sealed blade effect that I do, and has a piece of clear acrylic, so like I can't even push my finger in there. So right now the blade is airtight, it's sealed, it's epoxied in, and then the tip is on. So this, if you try to put something in there, dust or dirt or anything, it just won't go past this point. Actually, you can see the reflection, there you go, of the acrylic. So let's go ahead and slide this one in. I had to go through like 5 different 7/8 inch blades until I found one that slides in nice and easy but doesn't wiggle around on this blade holder. So there's apparently a little bit of variance on the 7/8 inch blades from TCSS, and I'm sure all the other guys, we're talking like microscopic millimeters as far as how this thing goes in and out. So you just slide it in gently till it stops, and then there's your glass eye. And then we'll go ahead and screw this in with the blade retention, and you just snug it down And you're gonna notice that a little bit more of the threads are shown because we have the blade retention. And there you go. Now it is secure. Let's kill the lights in here. Kind of move this back to where you can see the blade. And as you can see, it sits nice and sturdy because of the way the grips are set up on this one. So yeah, let's kill the lights. So the one thing I need to talk about before I go any further, before I forget, is the remote control, like all radio frequency or RF devices, once you put it inside a metal hilt, you will not be able to operate the saber with the remote control with it completely closed up like this. There's just no way. You lose all your range, just like with a Bluetooth module, like I was shown in the previous videos. And so the only way you can use your remote control is if you remove the lower half, and then that's going to increase your range. I mean, you know, in my experience so far with this system, anywhere from like 3 to 6 feet away. Now, if you wanted to go any further, you'll have to pull the chassis completely out. And then you should have, gosh, 10 to 12 feet range or something on the remote control. This is a car setup, so it's used to getting 12 volts. So because it only gets 3.7 volts, I think that's why, you know, the range is diminished a little bit, and it's now encased in metal and the brass screen in there. But you should be fine with it, with the chassis completely out of the hilt. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and use, just note to self on that one, I'm gonna go ahead and use the buttons to do the blade demo. So here we go. Font number 1, and we'll just show off this font, and super bright, super even blade illumination, and then when we click over to dual phase, and it goes white. And so I did some variances between the 16 different fonts on your blue, blue, white, and in general it just goes from, you know, blue to white with dual phase. But then, like when we, you know, use the remote scene, I cranked up the white a little more so it looks like that kind of washed out blue like it was in A New Hope on the Millennium Falcon. Use your blasters. Blade lockup. Yep. And shut down. All right, so there's pretty much how you operate the blade. To get it out, you just release the retention screw like this. And you can go ahead and pull it out, and then the blade slides out, but it does not wiggle. It's a nice tight fit. So there you go. There is your airtight blade, sir. And we'll go ahead and put the glass eye back in. Actually, let's go ahead and show off the 50% shine through. It's actually pretty cool. Pop that out, leave the glass eye in, find the 50% light one, which is right here. I actually like this mode. So yeah, here's your 50% light, and then the smoked version, and then we'll pop it in there and put it back in. And as one of your 5 options, then you can have a dim shine through, which actually this is kind of my favorite. So there you go, very filtered looking. And then you can barely put the blade plug in and use it like a miniature blade because I made it a little bit longer. So there you go, full phase. All right, you're all good to go, Master Stats. This is going to conclude this tutorial and manual and reveal. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Tune in for the Darth Vader DB6 coming up next. And as always, may the Force be with you, always.